And so we engaged specific marketing, and since then our emails have taken off. Emails now make up about 30% of our online revenue, so things are going really well.
This is Glen. He's the founder and the mastermind behind the Subo bottle, a revolutionary feeding device that's flipped the parenting world on its head. What started as a simple idea has exploded into a multi-7-figure e-commerce Shopify store, selling award-winning feeding bottles designed to make mealtime easier, simpler, and mess-free for parents worldwide. They've gone viral across social media, becoming the go-to brand for young families, and have built an army of loyal customers who swear by their products. They've won multiple Shopify awards. They've even landed a spot on Shark Tank Australia, showcasing their innovation on national TV. And from the outside looking in, everything seemed perfect. Sales were steady, their community was strong, traffic was flowing in from their ads. Subo had built a brand that parents didn't just like, they trusted. But despite all of this, there was a major leak inside of the business. Their email marketing, one of the most profitable and high margin channels for any e-com brand, was barely driving 8% of total revenue. Their customers would only buy once and then completely disappear. They had very basic flows set up in place that were templated, generic, and completely detached from the customer journey. And they were only sending 2 to 3 campaigns per month. No, at the time, he actually had a full stack marketing agency handling it. And while they're doing an okay job sending the occasional campaign and setting up some very basic flows, Glen could feel it. They weren't specialists, they didn't live and breathe email marketing, and they were leaving serious money on the table every single month. And in today's world where ad costs are higher than ever, you simply can't afford to have a half-baked email marketing system. It needs to be bulletproof. And that's exactly when we partnered with Glen and the Subo team and rebuilt their entire email marketing strategy from the ground up. We redesigned their flows, we built their segmentation, we started sending consistent campaigns, and after a couple months, we turned their email marketing into a real growth engine for the brand. So this video is going to be broken up into 2 parts. Part number 1 will take you behind the scenes at Subo Products, where Zach and myself sat down with Glen and the Subo team and spoke about the journey firsthand and what it's been like working together over the past 2.5 years. Part number 2, I'll show you exactly the strategy that we built for Glen and the Subo team, walking you through everything from A to Z, from list growth to flows, campaigns, segmentation, deliverability. We'll show you everything and exactly how we took them from 9% to over 30% of their online revenue coming from email alone. Let's dive in. Right, I'm here with Glen, the founder of Subo. Do you want to give a quick intro into the brand and maybe a couple of details about your products?
Sure. So Subo Products, we make and sell a reusable food bottle, which is great for young children to use. So it's a non-squeeze food bottle. You can put foods like yogurt, smoothies, even things like tin spaghetti into the product. And it's great because it's non-squeeze, which means young children can feed themselves independently without squeezing out a mess.
So what were you kind of looking for in terms of an email marketing team to come in? What were some weak points and some struggles you were dealing with at the time?
Sure. So about 2 years ago, we were using a large digital marketing agency. And I would say at that point, our focus was more on paid ads, and email marketing was a bit of an afterthought or sort of an add-on service. And so what we were looking for was partnering with someone who was an expert at email marketing. And so we engaged specific marketing, and since then our emails have taken off. Emails now make up about 30% of our online revenue, so things are going really well.
How quickly did you start seeing results, would you say, when we first onboarded you and had our first call from there? How long did it take?
To be honest, it was really quick because what you guys were able to bring to our system was email flows. I think we were lacking a little bit in that. So the email flows really generated some revenue for us straight away. And then, just brainstorming campaigns with you, getting, spitballing ideas and having purposeful emails, it really started to generate revenue straight away.
Someone who's maybe looking to partner with an agency or a freelancer, what would be the decision they would need to take to partner with us?
So I think some of the strengths that Pacific brings to the table is the communication. We're in constant communication with our chats, but we're also doing a lot of strategy, talking about, what worked in the month before and what we're looking ahead to for the next month.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Okay, let's move on to the case study section of this video, where I'm going to break down exactly how we help Subo Products scale from 9% to over 40% Klaviyo revenue attribution within just 90 days. As you can see here, this graph shows the exponential growth month by month from when we took over back in January. You can see they were doing around $15,000 a month from email marketing. And you can just see that very steady growth month by month as we took over, all the way up until June when we did over $65,000 in email marketing revenue. So you can see very insane and nice growth there. So in terms of the context and the situation prior to working with us and when we actually took over, so there were a few factors here. Number one, their ad costs were extremely high. So this obviously resulted in difficulty scaling profitably. Every time they go to scale, their profitability would tank. And that was largely due to a poor back-end strategy and poor retention strategy. Second, their email list size was 40,000 users, but they were rarely being contacted, right? So at the time, they weren't sending many campaigns out. They had built an amazing list size of customers over the past, 6 or 7 years of being in business, but they weren't tapping into this audience that they'd already paid to acquire. Therefore, they were, like I said, leaking revenue from their email channel. Number 3, their flows weren't even sure they were set up properly. So I think at the time, the agency had set up some basic welcome flows, but, there was very much a discongruence between the customer journey and what the flows were showing. They were very templated, very basic flows. So we actually gutted out the entire flow strategy and we made sure to map it based on what the ideal customer journey was and send people the right content at the right time based on where they were in the sales cycle. Number 4, they were barely sending out any campaigns either. Only when the agency really had time, the founder would say, hey, we need a campaign for X, Y, or Z. The agency would, sort of scrap together a campaign and get it sent out. Whereas, what we like to do is, bring ideas to the table, evergreen sort of content rather than just promotions, and fully prepare a calendar at the beginning of every month. That way you're prepared and you're sending out enough content to these subscribers every single month. Number 5 here was emails were landing in spam. So when we actually jumped in and performed the initial audit, we saw the open rates were super, super low. Their deliverability score was very low, which we'll get into in a second. And partly because, the agency didn't really have an understanding on deliverability optimization and they weren't warming up the account or anything like that. They were just blasting all the campaigns out to the entire list. They weren't segmenting or anything like that. And that resulted in low open rates and landing in the spam. So lastly here, there was a very lackluster post-purchase experience. This resulted in poor LTV. So at the time, like I said, they had a basic welcome flow. They had a couple of abandoned cart reminders, but once someone became a customer, there was no real journey after they placed an order and there was no real retention strategy in place. They just hoped they liked the product and would come back. So we created a VIP section of the group and we created some cross-sell flows as well. And we'll jump more into that in a second. So here's the 4 pillars we implemented, and this is pretty much a similar pattern across all brands we work with. There's usually sort of 4 steps to a successful email marketing account, and these are the 4 here. So number 1 is fixing deliverability. So most brands actually do have deliverability issues, whether it's Gmail, whether it's Hotmail, Outlook. The first thing that we like to do is actually implement our deliverability blueprint. And that's pretty much a checklist of all the key deliverability sort of measures you need to take when you are operating a Klaviyo account. So that's the first thing we did. We set up the deliverability right from scratch, just so the emails would actually land in the inbox tab. Number 2 was build out the core 9 email flows and a website pop-up strategy. So like I mentioned, they had very basic flows set up. So we completely gutted out all their existing flows and rebuilt a core flow strategy with a website pop-up and made sure that was aligned to the customer journey. Number 3 was sending 3 to 4 campaigns per week. So actually having consistent cadence with your campaigns is very important. So that's something we implemented, sending evergreen content, mixing in promotions as well, and targeting certain subscribers, whether they're non-customers, first-time customers, or VIP customers. Number 4 was optimizing the strategy with A/B testing. So obviously once you build out a strategy like this, it's important that you are iterating and constantly testing to find new angles that work and test sort of ideas and content against each other to see what the customers resonate with the most. And over time, you begin to build sort of a bulletproof strategy based on data you get from running these tests. So number 4 there was the final pillar. So what I'm going to do now is just break down pillar by pillar the strategy we implemented and go a little bit deeper into the weeds here. So obviously step 1 was fixing the deliverability. So this is obviously the protocol we follow when we take over an account. So you can see before they were at around 40 of a deliverability score, which is poor. And after the few months we worked with them, we got them up to 86. So you can see the open rates were at 35, took them to 53%. Click rates, bounce rates were very high, and we improved them. So At the time, like I mentioned before, the brand was not following good deliverability practices, meaning the open rates were low, the emails were landing in spam. So majority of their subscribers were not actually seeing the emails that were sent out, which was very impacting sales a lot. So our highest priority at the time when taking over the account was to get their emails consistently back into the primary inbox, as this would result in, a lot extra revenue without any extra sort of content being sent out or any additional flows or campaigns. So just this one tweak can result in a 20-30% increase in email revenue. So what we did and what we do with all of our brands is implement something called the deliverability detox checklist. So this is what it looks like. And there's about 5 steps here. Number 1 is setting up a dedicated sending domain. So you can see setting up a domain like that. I'm not going to go too into depth there. Number 2 is DMARC, DKIM, SPF records set up. So obviously these are super important to make sure your domain is valid and your emails can actually be received. So what we did is we went in and we made sure these were all set up correctly. We also implemented something called an email deliverability footer. So one of the biggest misconceptions with deliverability is you can't include lots of images within your emails because they get flagged by spam filters. Now, this is only true if you do not include HTML text within the email. Whereas if you do include HTML text, it's what the inbox providers want to see in order to actually land in the inbox folder. But when you do include HTML blocks, it can cause the email to look a bit chunky and different depending on the device you open it from. So what we like to do is upload the email as images only. And then in the footer, we add a lot of HTML text to make it really small, invisible, so it doesn't actually affect the subscriber experience. And most importantly, it keeps the providers happy. So we do this with all of our accounts. We create like a deliverability footer. And pretty much what it is we go to the About Us page of the brand. We copy all the website sort of copy there, at least 3 to 4 paragraphs of text. And then what we do is we actually implement that in the footer of the brand. As you can see, look like that. We remove any words that are spam filters, so like free, investment, winner, guaranteed, limited. So make sure you check that. And then what we do is we actually change the text size to 1 pixel and we change the line spacing to 1%. You'll see it hides like that. It turns from a big text like that into very small. Then we alter the text color to match the background of the footer. And then we save this as universal content and we use it across all flows and campaigns. So that strategy there helps us land in the inbox tab. And if you haven't done that, definitely recommend setting that up. Another thing here for deliverability is setting up that sunset flow. So this is just going to filter out old unengaged profiles that are no longer engaging with your content. So really important you set this up correctly. There's a guide here on how to set that up, but that's obviously one of the first things we did. And then lastly, here's perform a list clean. So we suppressed this segment here in their list. And what this did is it allowed us to reduce the Klaviyo bill because there were less people there. And we also improved deliverability because these people weren't active and they were actually sending emails to these people. So by suppressing these people, improves your open rates, your click rates, and it helps you land in the inbox folder. So that is step 1, fixing their deliverability. Step number 2, so once obviously we fix their deliverability, then we go ahead and build out all the automations for Subo. So I'm actually going to walk you through some of the emails we implemented and the flow structures and all that sort of thing. So the initial part of the automation strategy obviously begins with list growth. So this is the first thing we targeted. And obviously it all starts with the website pop-up. So at the time, their existing pop-up was converting at 1.4%, which is very low for a baby products brand. So what we did is we implemented a brand new pop-up with the following traits. It had a clear headline, a mystery discount, simple design, and big button. So you can see the design we implemented here. We also had a timer here. So it added a bit of urgency. They have 1 minute to sort of enter their details, had the mystery discount, and they only really get to see the value of the discount after they enter their details. So it creates that curiosity, pair it with urgency, and it worked really well. So this is going to be perfect for a brand that maybe can't afford to give a big discount of like, $30 off, $50 off their first order. If you can only afford like a 10% off discount, having it hid behind the mystery discount frame and the offer tends to work very well and a lot better than actually just saying, here's your 10% off up front. So definitely use that strategy if it applies to your brand and you can't afford sort of a bigger discount. So as you can see, we were able to improve the sign-up rate to 14.65%, which is a 10% increase in list growth. So After 5 months, the list size went from 40,000 to 55,000 subscribers, which is a substantial increase. You can see here the A/B testing we were running. At the time for this test, we tested a timer versus no timer. You can see the timer outperformed, got a 14.65% submit rate, which is really strong for a brand in general. Anything above 10 is what you should be aiming for, but you really don't get there without constant A/B testing. So obviously, every week we go in and put a new test up for this until we got it to that 14%. So that's definitely something I recommend you do for your brand. The next strategy we implemented with the automations was the pre-purchase email flows. So obviously, as we mentioned there, customer acquisition costs were very high. They were struggling to scale up their ad spend. So we knew that adding some core pre-purchase flows would help convert more traffic that was visiting their site and would drive down their acquisition costs. So here's a little sort of flow chart at the flows we implemented. So you can see we implemented 5 pre-purchase flows, and they are actually a lot longer than you would typically see other brands actually have and maybe agencies set up. So obviously, the welcome flow is going to be your most important flow. We set up 8 emails, then a site abandonment flow, then your browse, abandoned cart, and abandoned checkout. You can see these two are actually different triggers. So one's an added to cart trigger, the other's a checkout started trigger, but the flow is actually pretty similar. So let me actually break down the actual flow for Subo that we implemented. So you can see here, obviously a long welcome flow here. And you can see, I'll just break down email by email, sort of the content that we send them, as obviously these are new people, new to the site, new to the brand. So it's important that we set out a long welcome flow to sort of indoctrinate them over the first 1 to 2 weeks of their subscription with the brand. So you can see, obviously, the initial welcome email is just going to be a general sort of welcome to the brand, give them the opportunity to use that discount. So we really want to have the discount nice and clear, and then a bit of information about the brand. So some unique selling points like no more mess, more independence, more healthy meals, better for the environment, showing how the product works, and then reminding them of the discount. Email number 2 is going a little bit deeper into the unique selling point and how the actual bottle works. As it's a unique invention, there's nothing like it on the market, no other brand like this. It does require a bit of education. So we knew that in this welcome flow, we had to educate these subscribers in order to build that trust and actually get people to understand how the bottle works. So this email here was actually breaking down how the product works. You can see it has the spout there, and the platform actually moves up the bottle as they suck on the spout. So really, really cool invention there. And we also included a review just to build that social proof and then reminding of the discount. So a big mistake I see brands make is not actually including the discount and reminding people of the discount in the later emails. So important in every email in your welcome flow, you are reminding them of the discount, give them the opportunity to shop at every chance. So email number 3 was more social proof. So what we wanted to do, we wanted to show parents enjoying the Subo, show kids holding the Subo, using the Subo and loving it. So this was a very, social proof based email. And this is something you definitely need to implement in your welcome flow. So you can see here, parents and their kids everywhere love the Subo. Here's some core reviews. It can be short and sharp, nice and simple. If you have sort of other reviews you can implement, so you have other forms of social proof, like you've been in the press, in the media, definitely leverage those in this email as well. Next one was sort of a brand story email, just introducing the family. We knew that since the founders, Glen and Jen, were, they had their family of their own. They were just like their sort of target market. We knew this was a very important lever to pull in the welcome flow, as if your customers are exactly like you as a parent, someone who has a family, they're going to trust you a lot more, and they're going to really resonate with the story and the brand itself. So we wanted to leverage that as much as possible. So, we told the Subo story here about, their story began in 2012 when Aussie parents Glen and Julianne were on the lookout for a convenient and mess-free way to feed their kids on the go. And just telling a little bit about the story itself, reminding them of the discount is a great email. Next one here was actually doing sort of like an us versus them styled email. And this actually works super well. It's one of my favorite sort of emails to implement inside of a welcome flow. The reason why is it separates you from competitors, because you need to understand that when people are coming to your brand, a new brand, they probably come from an ad, they probably come from social media, wherever they come from, they have a problem, right? So as a brand, you need to understand that they're probably looking for a solution, and you're probably not the only brand that they're looking at. They're probably looking at competitors, similar like products in your industry. So important that you have an email that separates yourself from competitors, because obviously, may, need the trust building. They may need to see that the product works, but they also probably getting emails or probably getting content from competitors who are saying the same thing. So if you can separate yourself from your competitors with an us versus them styled email, this works very, very well. So one of the main competitors of the food bottle is the squeeze pouches. So what we like to do, we just did like a side-by-side comparison of why the Subo's better. So obviously food pouches are easy to spill, whereas the Subo's mess-free. The food pouches, they contain BPA and other chemicals, whereas the Subo is, obviously BPA-free, phthalate-free, and all of sort of the unique selling points we leverage there. And then we also backed it up with some reviews as well. So very nice email that performs very well. Second last email here is just like a why choose us. So again, just showing them why the Subo is a great choice for young families. So just our key selling points here. So mess-free, no nasties, no waste, and independent feeding as well. Now the last email here is a discount expiring email. So obviously we leverage a timer, and we have, short and sharp sort of email with minimal copy, but just showing them, hey, your discount is expiring 24 hours. You need to use your code now. So that is the welcome flow we implemented. And I just want to quickly run you through another flow we implemented. We're not going to go through all 9 flows that we built out, but we will sort of cover the high leverage flows. So the welcome flow, the abandoned cart flow, post-purchase, cross-sell sort of thing. So the next flow we implemented and I want to touch on is the abandoned cart flow. So you can see this flow here, we had, multiple emails. We had around 5 emails here. And the whole goal here is to remind them and get them to place that order with the abandoned cart content. So the first email here is going to be very simple. Obviously just saying, hey, you left this behind. Here's your products, quick reviews, and then shop now. And then what we like to do here is intro a discount. So it depends on sort of the brand and your margins. You can either introduce the discount on the second or the third or the fourth email. We did it on the second email. And pretty much it's just, hey, if you haven't purchased yet, here's 10% off your next order. Why choose us? Sort of quick reminder. Email 3 here is saying, hey, your discount's expiring in 24 hours. So very simple there. And then the last one here is, hey, your discount expires today. This is your last chance. And then last one here we like to do is an actual plain text email. And you can either do this once the discount expires, or you can do it like 2 hours before it expires. And the way you sort of frame it is saying, hey, looks like you left this in your cart. Your discount's still waiting for you. This is your last chance to grab the deal. Or you can sort of extend the discount. So you can send this after the discount expires and you can say, hey, we actually want to extend your discount for another sort of 24 hours. Personally reach out. Really good if you can leverage sort of a founder or something like this. In this case, they wanted to sort of remain a little bit behind the scenes. Which is why we framed it from the Subo team. Just heading back to the document now. So you can see the strategy. We want to walk through the post-purchase emails now. So their customer post-purchase at the time was very basic, not well thought out, not thorough at all. So as a result, they were struggling to get customers to stick with the brand and become 2-time, 3-time, 4-time buyers. This resulted in low LTV. Also affected the profitability of their brand as they were constantly relying on new customers coming in, which is obviously important that new customers are coming in, but they weren't really had a strategy to the ones that have actually, they've actually paid for those existing customers. There was no strategy here to get them to come back. So what we did is we created an amazing post-purchase experience by implementing the following flows. So you can see the post-purchase flow, we split it based on how many times they were a buyer. Cross-sell flow, win-back flow, sunset unengaged flow. So I'll quickly walk through some of the flows here. First one I want to walk through is the post-purchase flow strategy. So as you can see here, we split it based on buyer type. So you can see first-time buyers, they're getting like a thank you sort of email. And this is where we like to be fun, be creative. So if you want to read this email here, it's saying, hey, your Subo has been lovingly lifted off our shelves by our team of highly trained Subo experts. It was carefully placed onto a soft, cozy cushion. Okay, maybe it's just a box, but it's a really nice one to keep it safe and snug for its journey to you. A squad of our finest Subo experts then gave it a final check, ensuring it's in perfect shape to take on those messy meal times and save your sanity. Then finally, the entire Subo team gathered to send your package off with a cheer, knowing it's about to make your life just a bit easier and a whole lot more fun. We're so excited for you to start using your new Subo bottle, and we know it's going to be a game changer for you and your little one. Thank you so much for being part of the Subo family. We can't wait to hear how much you love it. Warm wishes and happy meals, Julianne and the Subo team. So this Email is great. We've got so many replies from new customers saying how much they love this email. So if you can leverage something like this, have a bit of fun with these new customers, it's a great way to sort of build that rapport and get them to buy into the brand. So that was as soon as someone places an order. The next day, as they're waiting for their product to arrive, their Subo, we sent them this email here, and it's an ultimate Subo care guide. So if you sort of have a document or a book or even an instructions manual or video on how to use the products, how to get the most out of your products, so whatever it is, supplements, skincare, whatever your products are, really important that you show this and you send this content inside of your post-purchase flow. It's all about creating an amazing experience, leaving no confusion. You map it out very easily for your new subscribers, or your new customers. So in this email, we said, hey, this is the ultimate Subo care guide. Here's your guide to caring for your food bottle. And sort of the guide, it contains safety tips, instructions for use, frequently asked questions, how to assemble and disassemble your Subo. And they could download it here. And that actually linked to a PDF file that the team had actually made up on how to care for the Subo. Email 3 in the post-purchase flow here was just preparing them for the Subo. So here is, at a time when someone's just purchased the product, they still have some questions on how to get the most out of the product, how to care for it, how to use it. So what we did here is we clarified any misconceptions that they had. We sent them to the frequently asked questions page. So some questions people have is like, what foods can I put in my Subo? Can I freeze my Subo? How do I clean my Subo? So all these questions get answered on our frequently asked questions page. So we just direct them there. So other questions is, answering, so what foods can I put in? Answering those questions, how do I clean it? Can I microwave it? And just sending them over to the frequently asked page for more questions to get answers. So a very important email there. And also a positive of that, it helps reduce the amount of, customer service questions you get because you answer these in the frequently asked questions email. Here is a review request email, and we send this around 2 to 3 weeks after they've received the product. So you do fulfilled order depending on sort of your average shipping times. You can sort of project how long it's going to take for them to arrive, and you fire it sort of 2 weeks after they receive it. So here we're going, hey, what did you think? Hopefully by now you've received your Subo and your little one has had a chance to give it a try. We'd love to know what you think. We really appreciate it if you took the time to leave a quick review on your order. Feedback not only helps us, but also other parents who may be searching for a safe and convenient way to feed their children on the go. Click below to leave a review. So it does depend on your brand. In this case, we were getting so many reviews. People were willingly leaving a review, so we didn't actually feel the need to include an incentive. It can be an option, and we've seen it work really well to include, hey, here's a 10% off voucher if you leave a review. If you leave a photo with a written review, you get 15% off. That's another strategy you can implement. In this case, our customers, they were so bought into the brand, they were just very happy to leave reviews, and we're getting a lot of reviews on a monthly basis, so we didn't actually need to offer an incentive. But if your brand sort of doesn't naturally get people raving and talking about the product, you can offer an incentive to drive that review sort of rate up a lot higher. The next sort of structure here is I want to show you what happens when someone buys for that second time. So we found the biggest friction for Subo was turning a one-time into a two-time buyer. That was where we were struggling the most. So what we did is we actually set up a section within the post-purchase flow that when someone becomes a two-time buyer, they now enter a VIP flow, sort of a VIP section. So what you like to do here, and the email I actually didn't include in this first one, is saying, hey, you're one order away from becoming a Subo VIP. And that sort of incentivizes them to become that VIP. So as you can see here, when they become a VIP, they get a VIP email, sort of VIP exclusive saying, hey, welcome to the VIP section. You're now a VIP. Your loyalty means a lot to us. Here's what you get as a VIP. And then a sort of week later, depends on sort of the average sort of repurchase rate. You can say, hey, thanks for being a VIP. We're offering 10% off your next order. Use your VIP code and then enter the code there. Very great way to drive that second, third purchase as well. So that's how we like to sort of frame that post-purchase flow strategy. The next and last flow I want to cover, obviously I don't want to go too into depth, and this video is already very long. So the cross-sell flow is something I wanted to cover in this video. So for this brand, cross-selling was, again, an opportunity that they didn't tap into. So a lot of brands I talk to, they have a lot of products that are similar, that go hand in hand, but they don't have a strategy where they sort of cross-sell in their email marketing. So what I like to do is actually set up a flow where based on what someone bought, we recommend X products. So you can trigger a conditional split saying placed order as a trigger. Conditional split goes, did this person buy XYZ? So in this case, we said, did this person buy a Subo? And if it was yes, and they hadn't bought a spout, so in this case, a spout, we go, okay, we'll send them an email offering them the spout and showing them the spout and teaching them about the spout. So you can see these 2 emails here. First one was adding another Subo to the family. So obviously the Subo, we have this in many different colors. There's about 8 Subo colors. So a lot of cross-selling opportunities. So if, someone buys one for their daughter, then there's an opportunity to buy it for their son with a blue or a green color, or, for a cousin, another family member, or for, a friend. There's so many opportunities there to cross-sell and so many ideas there. So what we like to do is saying, hey, having multiple colors means you can coordinate with different outfits or just mix and match to create a fun look. So you can obviously use a different lid color to a different sort of bottle color, all of that. We have a variety of colors to choose from. Why not give one a try and add a new pop of color to your Subo collection? So really, talking about building a Subo collection, using 2 means, when one's in the dishwasher, you don't have to use the other one. Sort of all that sort of messaging works well for cross sells. This email here, again, sip in style with the straw spout. So we hope you're enjoying your new Subo. Wanted to reach out and introduce you our handy straw spout. It's a perfect accessory to add to your collection. We think your little one will love it too. So obviously offering them the straw spout. And, this is something they didn't have in place at the time. At the time, there was no cross-selling. So we implemented this and the results were very strong. Moving back here, so you can see we also implemented a win-back flow, sunset unengaged flow. These are more standard sort of templated flows where you just, send gentle reminders, and then the sunset flow is for deliverability, where you send them sort of a last chance email and then saying, hey, this is your last chance. You include sort of your biggest offer you can give. If they don't purchase, they don't buy, they don't click, then we suppress them and create them as an unengaged user. Moving on to step 3 is ramping up campaigns. So at the time, the agency only sent out, 2 to 3 campaigns per month. So their setting cadence was very low, and sometimes, weeks would pass without any campaigns being sent out. This resulted in missed opportunity for revenue and flaky subscriber engagement. So the first thing we did on the campaign side was created some core segments here. So we created the engaged segments. So we have, 6 engaged segments here based on how active and how many days they've been engaged for. Then we have VIP customers, window shoppers, so these are non-purchasers, an unengaged segment, and then bounced email segment. So they're the core sort of segments we created. Then we developed an email campaign content strategy. So what we did, we took an 80-20 split between evergreen promotional campaigns. So at the time, obviously they were sending 2 to 3 campaigns a month. Most of these were discount emails, promotional, promoting, a discount to get people to, place an order. There was no evergreen content, educational content at the time. So we knew we had to educate their subscribers. We had to give them value. So what we did is we built a content strategy focused on 80% evergreen and then 20% promotional. And what this does is, when you send too many discount emails, what happens is you cheapen your brand. This leads to only driving sales when there's a discount, which is, a brand you do not want to be. So the goal is to be able to drive consistent revenue with evergreen emails. Then when you do sprinkle in a sale or a discount email, the sales, they skyrocket because you've built that rapport and you've primed your subscribers to buy. So you can see 80-20 split there. When it comes to what sort of content we sent to each segment, obviously, the engaged segment is going to result in sort of 80% of your campaigns. This is your biggest segment here. We sent to 90 engaged most of the time. And the content here was like evergreen emails, promotional emails, some examples here. So you can see like just some tips on how to use the Subo. So, how to get, your kids to love the Subo. So start with what they love. The straw spout, let them lead, independence, and then promoting the product there. This one here is obviously a sale email, so this goes out to your engaged list as well. So some unique back to school sale offer. This one here is a Subo recipe. So obviously value-based emails, recipes worked really well for this brand. So we showed, a recipe of, yogurt, and, ideas including fruits and, creating a smoothie sort of thing works really well. So if you have, recipes or value like this, include this, link them to these videos or even show them how to use it itself, show the ingredients, how to make it. all that sort of content is very, very good for creating rapport within your email list and giving them value rather than just asking for a sale all the time. So this sort of evergreen content works really well. We usually do, a Subo recipe of the month. So 1 or 2 a month we like to do. So yeah, very minimal work on our end, but results in really good rapport with our subscribers. Next here was campaigns to window shoppers. So obviously window shoppers, they're going to be non-purchasers, but they're active on the list. They're opening emails. They're on the site. They've added to cart, whatever it is, but they haven't purchased yet. So what we need to do here is build value with these emails, and you can also offer discounts, remind them of the welcome code to encourage that first purchase. So you can see the value-based campaigns we did here was highlighting why the Subo is a great choice. So less waste, more savings. You save money on the Subo. You ditch using pouches, which is terrible for the environment. This one here is just building social proof. So showing parents with their success stories of the Subo. So daily wins on the Go Freedom, game changer. This one here is addressing misconceptions about the brand and then leveraging social proof with in the press. So here, does the Subo really work? That's a common misconception or a common question people have about the Subo. So what we like to do is address this with a review. And this is actually from a company, Grapevine, who I believe are a media company who, all in the baby products industry. They are a well-known authority in the industry, and they had a review. So they left a review on the Subo. So what we did is we leveraged that review, Mum's Grapevine, and really, really great email to build that trust. So yeah, that worked very nicely. Lastly, here is campaigns to VIP customers. So these are people who, they purchase 1, 2 or 3 times. So what we want to send them is early access to sales, exclusive insight to product launches, founder messages, exclusive offers, etc. This one here is a plain text from the founder. So this was like a heads up saying, hey, you get 24-hour head start on the sale. 8 a.m. on Saturday, we'll send you a secret link with early access to our upcoming sale. Yeah, so treating them like VIPs, treat these people like special because they are special. They are your highest, most profitable customers because they obviously purchase more than once. So you want to treat these people special and give them, you don't have to give them discounts or more discounts than your regular subscribers, but you can give them early access, insight to product launches, stuff like that. You can treat them very special without having to dip into your margins. Next one here is giving them VIP early access. So obviously that's the reminder saying, hey, you get access tomorrow. And this is the launch email saying, hey, your VIP access starts now. Here's what you can get. This is your moment. Your head start starts now. Here are your bundles for Black Friday. So really cool way to sort of acknowledge your VIPs there. Step 4 here, and the last sort of step we implemented was testing and optimizing the account. So now that we created a strong foundational email strategy, the last ongoing step was continual testing and optimization. So this was the real kickoff for the brand. They obviously had beliefs about what drove a customer to purchasing. There wasn't really any set in stone evidence. So we rolled out our monthly A/B testing protocol, resulted in $1,000 of extra monthly revenue. You can see the protocol here, we tested send times. So we tested, okay, what sort of time, what sort of day do these emails derive the most revenue and they get the most opens. So what we did is we tested like big discrepancies, like 10 a.m. versus 4 p.m. Whatever one, we'd then use that against the next test. So we go, if 10 a.m. won, we'd test that against 3 p.m., then 2 p.m., 1 p.m., so forth. And then we found the best send times on the days and the actual time of day as well. We also tested content. So not many sort of agencies and not many brands test content. They test subject lines and stuff like that, which I don't think drives much sort of return, but testing content's important. So you want to test like short emails. So on the left here is like a short sale email, and then we're testing it versus a long email here with recommending products and stuff like that. So testing these is going to be very important to see what your customers are most receptive to. Maybe it's just the quick short email gets them over to the site, or maybe a longer email with more products drives a better sort of click rate. So important you test that, see what drives more revenue, more clicks as well. There's just some insight there. Lastly, here we did some deliverability maintenance. So obviously on a monthly basis, we need to be list cleaning. We need to provide reporting to the client. We need to do some testing of the inbox placement and constantly analyzing the inbox provider metrics. So you can see what we do here, we use this deliverability hub section. We just keep an eye on it. We look at all sort of the metrics here and trends, making sure we're not on a downtrend and catching any lapses in deliverability early and, suppressing those unengaged users is very important to maintain that deliverability. So obviously those are the 4 pillars there. And after implementing those, we fast forward to today and this is what their account's looking like. So they got fast email list growth with sign up form converting at 12%, strong pre-purchase flows driving down cost per acquisition. So they're, scaling profitably, more repeat orders and high LTV due to post-purchase flows, sending out 10 campaign months, driving around 30K a month in revenue, and their emails are back in the primary inbox. So if we head back here, you can see, back in January, 15,000, now we're at 65,000. So the strategy we implemented worked, and Subo are in a very strong position to scale up their revenue now that their email marketing is locked. Then they've built a machine to drive repeat purchases and maximize conversions on first purchases. And they're in a really good position to, scale up their ad spend and really build a very strong e-commerce brand. So if you want email growth like this, completely free, I'll give you an email marketing audit, 30-minute email session with myself. We'll jump into your Klaviyo account. We'll dissect your flows, your campaigns, your strategy, your deliverability, email list growth. We'll look at everything and we'll provide you with a custom roadmap that you can implement for yourself. So if that is of interest, hope you enjoyed this video. You can book a call down in the description. Other than that, thanks for watching and I hope you found value. Goodbye.